in the TARDIS. Next stop, everywhere.
Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, everybody. I'm Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS once again. Pretty darn glad to be talking about this episode with my partners in time, Jesse Jackson and Karen Lindsay. Hello, guys.
Hello, Charles. Hello, Karen.
Hello,
How's everybody today?
Hello.
Good.
Excellent.
That's
Excellent.
a loaded question, but hello.
Yes. I was kind of getting into the Doctor Who theme there because I was like, oh, bouncy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because it's got a cool bouncy beat to it.
Plus, you were making your T-shirt TARDIS move around,
Yes,
which was
yes.
very cool.
It's my super cheap special effects by the TARDIS.
That's right. It's
jiggling on my T-shirt.
It's pretty much BBC quality.
at least from the classic
Old school,
era.
yeah.
Old school, yes. Yeah, definitely during the Michael Grade production, the John Nathan Turner era. Let's put it that way. All right, so we're going to talk about
Dr. Alien.
Yeah.
I got my alien finger puppets out, you guys.
Yes. So that's okay. All right, I'll try this again. So we're going to talk about this really big episode, guy. Episode 121, Rosa. And, which was, of course, the third episode of Doctor Who Series 11, just aired last night on October 21st, 2018, for all you linear time people. And
those.
Yeah, so obviously the third episode of the Jodie Whittaker era, written by Mallory Blackman, the very first black writer on Doctor Who.
Correct.
And
wow, very nice.
And shame on Doctor Who for not having another black writer sooner.
I agree.
So at least one is better than zero, I guess, right?
One is better than zero. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Mathematically, technically, at least now it's not a complete shutout. And also Chris Chibnall probably just kind of tweaking some 13th Doctor dialogue, I'm guessing. But I'm guessing the bulk of this was written by Mallory Blackman.
And can I also offer that she authored some young adult time travel books called Noughts and Crosses, a whole series of books.
Okay, that's cool.
Dystopian stuff. So
this is not her first foray into time travel stories.
It's not at all. Her IMDb page is pretty stark, but when you look into what she's written, she's got a bit of heft behind her. So I was pleased.
Okay. Yeah, and this is directed by Mark Tonderai, who directed last week's episode, The Ghost Monument.
Tonderai.
And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Jesse, let's start with you. What did you think about this episode? Real quick. Just general thoughts.
It was amazing. I tweeted last night, I did not think another Doctor Who could make me cry the way Vincent and the Doctor makes me cry.
Right.
Just if you put Vincent and the Doctor on right now, when they go back with that music and everything, I'm crying.
Oh, you mean Changes by...
Yeah.
I forget.
Changes.
I'm trying to remember.
Different Changes.
I'm trying to remember. No, it's not different Changes.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I cry every time, and I've seen the episode once. I watched the first 10 minutes today, and then flipped it to the very end. Watched the very ending before we joined here, and I was crying.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You are not alone, my friend. that the whole reaction scene at the end when Rosa gets arrested and Graham and Ryan are looking on, that started the waterworks for me. It was very difficult for me to keep it together.
Very powerful, and because just it has so much meaning.
Yeah.
And historical significance now. So this is, for those who don't know what we're talking about, shame on you, but we are talking about the 13th Doctor and her companions going back in time to 1955, very late November, just before December 1st, 1955, the historical date that Rosa Parks made her protest, not refusing to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, racist Montgomery, Alabama, for a white person. Yep. And that triggered a whole chain of events with a resulting civil rights protest protesting her being forced off the bus. And that eventually, helped fuel the civil rights movement led by Dr. Martin Luther King.
And racism is over today.
I think that's why. That's why one of the reasons I was tearing up is
because it's just not.
It's not.
No, and credit to Mallory Blackman for actually acknowledging that in the script, that because you had some great moments with Yaz and Ryan. Yeah, are now confirmed Pakistani companion of Pakistani descent, not Indian like I thought.
Or Mexican.
Yeah, Pakistan.
Or Mexican, yes.
Yeah. Or and Ryan, of course, being a black Englishman, obviously has to deal with this stupidity, no matter what the country. And Yaz takes a great moment. We'll talk about that. She actually tries to reassure Ryan that things have improved, maybe not as much as they would like, but hope for the future, which I thought that was really inspiring.
Yeah. You tweeted something I thought, and I don't want to spoil it, but you have been very good during our journey, Charles, about calling out when something is a quote unquote classic Doctor Who. And you said that last night. You said that.
Yeah, I basically tweeted that I thought that this episode, and I know I'm kind of getting ahead of my rating here a little bit. This is essentially what I feel is the first classic of the Jodie Whittaker era.
Yeah, and and as a classic, you could still give it 7 out of 10. So you're not telling your rating.
Well, but I think this is going to be an episode that's going to be remembered for a long time, and I suggested that Doctor Who has been around for 55 years, and I think this story is going to be remembered for the next 55.
Yeah, I agree. And
fondly, I might add.
Absolutely. When we get to talking about Rosa Parks,
hopefully you agree with me on that.
Vinette Robinson is pretty active on Twitter, and she is the actress who played Rosa Parks. And she seemed to be she had a blast being on Doctor Who, and she seemed really touched by all the positive feedback she'd gotten on her performance.
Right.
That's great.
Well, since you kind of walked right into my casting segment.
Okay. Well, usually you do the casting segment before we do the quick take.
Well, I'm changing it up a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't know
we were. A creative license, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he drives the bus. Remember?
Exactly.
Yes, he does.
Hey, let's not go that far.
No, Jesse was our bus driver on Storming the Castle. That's.
Oh, yes. Okay, got it.
Yes. All right. Not bus driver in this other.
Oh my goodness! No.
Because that bus driver context has a little bit of
bad. Yeah. Okay.
It's when you put it, I guess, when in the context of this episode.
Yeah. I'll explain just a little bit. When Jesse and I did Storming the Castle, We always referred to him as the bus driver because he was in charge of guiding the podcast. It's nothing to do with the buses in Montgomery, Alabama.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, everybody got that? Okay, good. So, that's kind of important information.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So, Charles, tell us about the cast.
All right. Now that you made it awkward. So you mentioned Vinette Robinson, who played Rosa Parks. She was actually in a previous Doctor Who story, 42, during the David Tennant era, written by, you guessed it, Chris Chibnall.
That's right.
So obviously he was a fan of her performance in that episode. And you might also recognize her from a certain series written by another Doctor Who showrunner, Stephen Moffat, Sherlock, where she played Sergeant Sally Donovan, the Metropolitan Police sergeant that liked to give Sherlock a very hard time, was not always suspicious of his motives. And so very memorable character there. So I think, and I think the casting here, and I'm sure you guys are going to agree with me, was pretty well perfect for this episode.
Yes,
she was also in a Black Mirror episode called Hated in the Nation.
Right.
So
this is true.
For those who watch Black Mirror like I do, over and over and over.
I watched the USS Callister episode of Black Mirror.
That's the only one I've watched too.
You should go back and watch it.
I have a hard time with anthologies, though, because I'd like to get into characters over the period of episodes.
Yeah. The very last episode ties a bunch of stuff together.
Right. I can appreciate anthologies, but it's harder for me to get into.
I get it.
Because you're like, I want to get invested in the character, and then, it's a totally different cast and concept the next episode. So, Josh Bowman, who played Krasko, the kind of Fonzie-looking Brando, yes, wannabe Brando. I would say probably more like Mutt in the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull than Brando, because Krasko's not as cool as Brando.
I'm making a joke because she calls him Brando in the episode.
Oh, okay.
Oi, Brando.
Brando, yeah, you're right. Okay. And because that's a reference to On the Waterfront, which is a famous Marlon Brando film that look was inspired by. He's notable because he played a character named Daniel Grayson on ABC's Revenge, and he played Jack the Ripper in ABC's short-lived kind of rip-off, well, not really rip-off, but version of the classic time travel movie Time After Time.
I actually really liked that show.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
But
I've never actually talked to anybody who actually watched that show.
It had a lot to do with the fact that Josh Bowman and the guy who played H.G. Wells were both pretty hot.
Okay.
I didn't find him hot in this because he was just so loathsome. But on Time After Time, they both had their shirts off every once in a while and racing.
It was more eye candy.
Well, they had to change because of, going to a different time period. Although there were only 10 episodes or something. It
was very short-lived. It didn't last. Yeah.
But, I do remember. I remember.
So I never watched the show, so I can't attest if it was good or bad or not. I just know it's short-lived.
I really did. And it wasn't just for that. I thought it was pretty decent.
Some other people, Trevor White, who played James Blake, James the Snake Blake, as he's referred to in this episode. He's been in a surprising grouping of movies. He was in The Dark Knight Rises. He was in the James Bond film Die Another Day, so there's another James Bond connection, Jesse.
Okay.
And he was in the movie Jason Bourne.
Okay.
So
action guy.
Probably minor characters, but still. And then lastly, Morgan Deere, who played Arthur, who I believe was the older racist gentleman. That he was actually in a classic Doctor Who story, He played a character named Hawk in the Sylvester McCoy story Delta and the Bannermen back in the 1987.
Oh, so it's a little callback to that.
A little bit, because that was also set in the 1950s.
Nice.
Cool. So very interesting. And Hawk was an American character on that show, on that episode. He also played Donald Hunt, Ethan Hunt's uncle, in the first Mission Impossible movie. And he was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit as the voice of a gorilla.
Okay.
Probably that big bouncer gorilla, if you remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Right, that's very cool.
Okay.
So just a little couple of Easter egg casting news that I thought I'd just pass along. So, all right.
Perfect.
All right. So I know we have already done our kind of general takes, although Karen, did you or Jesse have any further thoughts on general stuff before we move on?
No, we can move on.
All right. Okay. So first topic, and I'm hoping you'll appreciate my theme this week.
All right. I always do.
Okay. First topic. Memories of our lives, of our works and deeds, will continue in others. So I'm just going to leave that there for now.
Okay.
Ponder that. And this is, first off the bat, I want to talk about the Doctor and her gang, as she refers to them in this episode. Her gang of companions. The Doctor, as we find out, is still trying to get Graham, Ryan, and Yaz home to 2018 Sheffield, only to end up in 1955 Montgomery, Alabama, of all places. Especially when you have like a black and a Pakistani descent companions.
Now,
awkward.
We've mentioned this before, but the TARDIS takes you where you need to go.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of implied here with this story that, the Doctor kind of says that she's still trying to figure out the controls.
Okay. And can I just say, can we not make driving jokes about the first female Doctor?
Right.
Please?
Yes. I didn't know anyone has. I would be very unhappy.
They did in the show. And so, people jumped right on it.
And there's plenty of people that, there was the comment by Graham where he says, "You don't really know how to fly this thing, do you?"
Right.
But
see,
companions have said that about the male doctors as well.
Yeah, I didn't take that as all as a woman doesn't know how to drive.
Right.
Yeah, I think maybe they should stay away from not being able to drive jokes with this Doctor.
Yeah. I kind of agree, because just after Jodie Whittaker's regeneration scene, where she flips a switch and then everything starts blowing up and she ends up sucked out of the TARDIS, there was a lot of women driver jokes about Jodie Whittaker on the interwebs.
Yeah, so
and it was not cool.
Stay away from it.
But Capaldi's first statement was, "Do you know how to drive this thing?
Fly this thing?" Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't find that at all. But yeah, I thought that was.
Unfortunately, some people do.
Yeah.
Well.
I got
to me
luck. Yeah. Go ahead, Karen.
I get it.
This is why we have a female perspective.
Well, I'm just saying. To me, I understand because I know Doctor Who overall. But after the whole kerfluffle with, her not being able to drive because it blew up, because there was the whole Deanna Troi blew up the Enterprise the first time. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, it was like history repeating itself where she takes control and then kablooey. And that, I remember the comments from that.
Yes.
And they knew that those comments happened. So let's not buy into that. Let's
not tempt fate.
Right.
So, yeah. I get it.
It was unnecessary.
I get it, and I get where you're coming from.
Right.
So, and this is why I was glad that you're joining us for this, because you give us that different perspective. Yeah. Obviously.
And like I said, I get it in the overall context, because in Doctor Who there are always those driving jokes.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not offended by the comment. On the whole, I just think it's a little weird after all the mess. That's all.
Okay. All right. So Jesse, what are your thoughts about the Doctor and her companions in this story?
Well, first off, they embraced going, on this adventure right away, and I thought that was really cool. Instead of going, well, no, why are we doing this?
Right.
They asked good questions, which was good for viewers who had not seen the show. You kind of explained something, though I really would have liked them to say, yeah, the TARDIS has money from around the galaxy and different time periods all in a vault, that's why we have money here in 1955. Because notice, the Doctor promised to pay double for the repairs, and they all had money to pay for the bus. That was, I know, a hand wave, but I thought of that.
Well, if you can get cookies out of the TARDIS console these days, then I'm sure you could get a couple of bucks, like an ATM machine, right?
I love the interaction. The four of them have a great chemistry. They seem to play off well with each other. When they're all trying to come up with a plan, they all were engaged and excited. Couple of things wonderful, in the seedy hotel room, and the Doctor writing on the walls, and she has the magic pen. I really love this Doctor, and I love the way that she's interacting with these three companions. They're all smart. They all come from a different perspective. Graham's like, well, I'll just go hang out where they drink. Because, all bus drivers drink, and there's going to be some place there. And Ryan hitting the streets, looking. I just loved it.
I'm thinking if Graham leaves the show, like Bradley Walsh leaves the show, we should do like a Graham spin-off series where he like gets a bar.
Yeah,
that would be so great.
Where like you had different kind of bus drivers, and every so often the Doctor would show up.
That's so great.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be great? Like Captain Jack maybe walks in at some episode or something. How great would that be?
Fantastic. Well, let's see, the bus terminal at the end of the universe or something, right?
Yeah,
something to that effect. But all right. So, Karen, what did you think about this episode, or about the Doctor and her gang?
Well, I enjoyed the fact that she had, that she still had the moments of levity, but that there was also a lot of gravity to this episode. Right. She was very serious when the call was there, and I also like the lines where she was talking about her companions in the hotel room.
Right.
And she says, I don't recognize anyone by that description, and we're not harboring anyone who doesn't have a right to be here. Where she was like very non-specific when they asked her specific questions about, have you seen the black kid and the Mexican or all that.
Right.
And she says, I don't recognize anyone by that description. Because
that I thought was a good scene.
Yeah, it's
that was a great scene.
Yeah, it's a double-sided coin.
Well, she wasn't going to give that racist cop anything.
Right.
As far as like, she wasn't going to give any ground to him.
So she's not only telling the truth.
It's like only people that deserve to be here are here.
Right. And she's also kind of, in your facing the guy as well, which I love.
Right. And that's the Doctor right there.
Right. So I dug it.
Standing up to authority.
Exactly.
Especially when it's racist authority.
And using words to do that, which is fantastic.
Loved it. I thought the Doctor was very good in this episode. Jodie Whittaker, of course, again hitting it out of the park. A lot more subtlety to her performance in this episode. Mm-hmm. Like there was some like scenes like the scene when the climactic scene when they're on the bus, and the Doctor realizes that she's going to have to just let history play out and not do anything. And there's that conflict you can read on her face. Which is great acting, I thought.
I agree.
And you could just see her, like she wants to go out, like go back and get right up in that bus driver's grill, but knows that history has to play out. So
and I thought Graham just no, I can't do this. Right. I don't want to be part of this. Was really well done. Yaz is more, we're part of this. We're seeing history, but the Doctor and Graham both hit that we're two of the white people that are causing her to have to
get arrested.
Get arrested. And that just, you could see that broke his heart and it broke her heart. Yeah. Oh, it's just so wonderful.
Yeah, that was part of the wrenching performance.
Yeah, I thought Bradley Walsh did a great job with that too, as Graham. I thought he did good. And Tosin Cole as Ryan and Mandeep Gill as Yaz. They did really good in this episode, I thought. I liked Ryan fanboying over Rosa Parks.
Yes,
I thought that was great. And then when Martin Luther King is there and he's just like, he's so beside himself, he's just like, oh my God, it's MLK.
Yeah, exactly.
And all this, and just geeking out over this, and I thought was a great moment. And he actually was relating to Rosa. It wasn't just like he was there.
Right.
He was actually interacting with her, which I thought was great. And she kind of when she's brought off the bus, she looks up at him as she's leaving, and kind of like looking at him to kind of carry the torch a little bit.
Yes.
So I thought that was very good, and
I agree.
And Yaz, I really liked where that scene in the alley, where she's just sitting there with Ryan, and trying to. He's all pissed off, and she's kind of trying to talk him down a little bit, and say, yeah, things aren't great where they should be, but we live in this era that's better now because of people like Rosa Parks.
Yes.
And who knows what's going to happen in the future. I'm paraphrasing here, but yeah. So I thought that was really good. Agreed. And then we had the Doctor, and we'll talk about Krasko here shortly, because I wanted to get into him a little bit.
What's your quote for the companions?
Well, that was that memories of our lives. That was the whole thing for the Doctor and her companions.
Both? Topic 1 and Topic 2?
Well, Topic 2 is different. Okay. So we might as well talk about Topic 2.
Well, see, in my show notes, it says the Doctor, and then the companions, and then villain / monster. You changed it. Okay.
I changed it. Yes, okay. It's not a.
He's driving the bus.
Yep, I'm going along.
Reminding you, he's driving the bus.
Yep.
If the Doctor can be unpredictable, I think I could be a little unpredictable.
Yes, you can. Right? I'm good with it.
Okay. All right. I have confidence in my co-hosts that they're more than capable of improvising on the fly.
I am. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Except for the fact that now we've pulled the curtain back. And everybody knows that I'm trying to follow along with a script, and you are not following it. That's all right, though. No, it's my fault for.
That's okay.
For following.
No.
That's okay.
Outline.
It's we're still finding the new rhythm. It's cool. Yeah. We're getting used to everything, just like the Doctor is with her new companions and
absolutely.
Everything. All right. So let's just go right into a second topic here, unless anybody has anything else they want to talk about the Doctor and the companions.
I don't think so. There's other things I want to bring up, but I'm not sure what category, so I'm kind of waiting for that.
Well, I'll just say, to kind of give everybody a heads up, Topic 2 is going to be about Rosa Parks. Topic 3 is going to be about Krasko.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. The only thing I loved, and I guess this kind of fits both companions and Rosa Parks, is Ryan being polite. The lady drops her glove. Yes. He picks it up and brings it, shocked about what happened.
No good deed goes unpunished, does it?
Yes, absolutely. And then when he doesn't say no, ma'am, to Rosa Parks.
Yeah.
Where are your manners, son?
And I just love that so much.
Yeah. Can't win for losing.
Now both of you live in the South.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm not from the South, but
not from the South, but Jesse lives down south, and
Yes.
you've been there for quite a while.
I've been here quite some time, yeah.
Well, I will. Very, very quick story. We were in New York a couple of years ago for the Springsteen show, and the lady we were staying with was really irritated that Chris kept saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Oh.
You know, because that's you're making us sound old.
Right.
And he just finally looked at her and said, "When I was 4 years old, I did not say yes, ma'am, and my Mimi popped me in the butt. And I'm telling you right now, she is in Louisiana, but if I didn't say yes, ma'am, to you, she could come around that hallway and pop me in the butt right now."
Yep.
And so that's what and I love that. And because Ryan was thinking, oh,
Yep.
Graham would be unhappy with me.
Yep.
So yeah, that was perfect.
But and just that shocked reaction, and you have to kind of credit Ryan for not just punching that guy right back.
Yeah.
And you saw how fast the doctor raced over.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Intervene, yeah.
because normally the doctor seems very detached where the companions are concerned. Like they wander off. He doesn't really notice when he was he.
Yeah.
And now the doctor seems like, especially in this environment, which is probably a good thing, the doctor was definitely more cognizant of where they were, their surroundings, and what her companions were doing.
We talked about this last week, and I brought that up, that she's explaining what's going on. Okay, I've messed up. She seems to be more of a teacher and a
mentor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally see that, and I think it fits Jodie's personality, and I think that's one of the reasons why, at least from my perspective, the TARDIS doesn't feel crowded.
Right.
Because all three of them seem to have their own place. They engaged well. It truly does feel like not a Scooby gang, but it does feel like the Doctor Who gang.
Right. A team.
Yep.
They worked as a team in this episode.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think this is the first episode where it seemed like the responsibilities were much more balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't just the Doctor and Ryan or the Doctor and Graham.
Yeah.
It was everybody working together.
They each had a role to play.
Right. And I was glad that Yaz finally got some major dialogue in this episode.
Me too.
Yeah,
because I've been a little concerned about that for the first couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm crediting Mallory Blackman more than Chibnall here.
Yeah.
Looking out for the female characters.
Yeah. I just thought what's funny is after watching the show, I had to grab my Brad Meltzer I Am Rosa Parks to read this, and don't know if you guys realize this, but they did not stretch. The same bus driver who made her get off the bus and try to climb on the back was the same bus driver who had her arrested.
Oh yeah.
That was not a stretch on the show's part. That is fact.
Yeah, that was what Jesse's talking about was we see that little bit at the beginning, just after the credits, where we see Rosa Parks in 1943, and where she pays her money and then gets on the bus and is promptly told to get off the bus and get on through the back door, and yells at her to go through the back door.
Right.
Yes.
And then here we are 12 years later, and it's the exact same bus driver.
Right.
Yes.
Driving the bus on December 1st, 1955.
Yeah.
So that's history being very ironic.
Yep.
It is.
And the fact that he was made this horrible villain, and probably rightly so, because
he's a villain of his own making.
Yep.
Yes.
I agree.
So I think he only had himself to blame. He could have
Agreed.
chosen to act one way and acted a completely different way because he was more concerned about the law than doing the right thing.
And did you know
Yes.
it was not against the law? That was the bus policy,
Oh,
but
I
it
did
was
not know
not
that.
a law.
Right.
I saw that on the
but
internet today.
when it comes to things like that back then, it could be against the law. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, it
They would
could be.
stretch it.
Absolutely.
Well, it was just
Yeah.
it would be just the excuse the cops needed back then
Right.
to
Absolutely.
She wasn't.
arrest her.
She was being rowdy. She was, she wasn't following my orders. Then she needs to go.
Yeah.
or uppity.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
The I just thought the actress was wonderful playing Rosa Parks. I mean, so much strength, and she had some humor. She didn't play her totally as if a saint, but a real person who was just tired. And I just thought that was I loved. Like I said, this reminded me of Vincent and the Doctor. I actually like this a little better than Vincent and the Doctor. I think it was a stronger story, a more cohesive story.
Right. I agree. So this since we've kind of bled into the second topic.
Yes.
So I'll give my quote, and then I want to ask Karen what she thinks about Rosa Parks and about Vinette Robinson playing Rosa Parks.
Okay.
All right. So a second topic. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in.
So you stole my closing quote.
Okay.
Well, now I will have to find another one.
People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired, but that isn't true. I was not tired physically. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically what I'm doing is I'm doing Rosa Parks quotes for the theme topics.
Very nice.
Which I think is pretty appropriate. Yeah.
Yes, that's why I was going to do our closing quote of that. But
sorry, I apologize, Jesse.
No, that's perfect.
There's got to be another Rosa Parks quote you can use.
Yes, it is.
I have a whole page of them up. Anyway, I really loved her as Rosa Parks. There were times where she was funny and times when she was very serious, and I just really enjoyed her performance. I loved her interactions with Ryan. The whole scene with her and Yaz in the dress shop.
Right.
Oh,
that I like.
man, I love that.
I like that a lot too.
I love that because it's not just about, Black rights, but also women's rights.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's also a huge deal. You could see how progressive she was from that conversation.
I liked how Rosa reacted when Yaz told her she wants to be the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
And she's like, amen.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Exactly. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And I just think she did such a magnificent job as Rosa Parks. I've seen other, biopics where, episodes of shows where Rosa Parks is
right.
part of it. And yeah, the actresses are great. But this one, I mean, I felt like I was watching Rosa Parks. I really did.
Right. I mean, for just like a 45-minute episode or what have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
50-minute episode. Vinette Robinson really stood out.
Really.
And I will not be surprised if she ends up getting like a BAFTA for TV.
Yeah, I won't either.
A nomination for this.
Right.
Or like, some kind of maybe a Golden Globe perhaps or something.
I mean, even an Emmy nod.
Possible Emmy nod maybe.
For guest
an Emmy nomination for Doctor Who. What a concept.
That would be so amazing.
Yeah, it would
be. We've had Orphan Black. We've had some other, it's time.
Yep, I think so. And this kind of episode hopefully will get people's awareness to maybe consider her for this.
I agree.
So I think it's worthy, personally. I thought Vinette Robinson did great. I love the scenes where she's talking with Yaz. And it's a very nuanced performance she has.
Yes.
She comes off. I mean, she seems to have this stoicism
Mm-hmm.
and that she, it's like a quiet strength that she has.
100% strength of character.
Right.
How I felt.
And then just that, she believes in something and is willing to make that stand for it. And, but, she's not looking for attention. She's not like trying to, just win people over. She's just someone that wants to go about her day and be treated like everybody else. And it's pretty powerful performance, I thought.
Yeah.
And so, all right. Anything else about Vinette Robinson as Rosa Parks, or how Rosa interacts with the other characters?
As I talked about, I think it is worth going to her Twitter feed, the actress, and read a couple of things. You just could tell how happy she was to be part of this episode. I hate to say a very special Doctor Who, but it really, it was just really well done. And I think Chibnall wanted to show that, he could up his game, and this is really well done. I just was thrilled this thing.
She is, by the way, _Vinette on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah. So definitely check out her feed. So, I've been a little frustrated reading some of the Twitter feed about this episode, because, and especially on Facebook, like the posts that come on the official Doctor Who posts about this episode.
You just have to ignore those.
I know. I get that.
What about
these horrible people that claim to be bored by this episode? Like, just that, oh, this episode sucked. It wasn't, interesting. And I was just so bored, and I did other stuff because it just didn't interest me, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that shows
I'm thinking, what kind of emotionally stunted child are you that you found this episode boring? Yeah. Right. I know. It's like, unless you dangle, like some like rubbery masked aliens in front of them, they're not going to be entertained.
Yeah, well, and some of it I think is just them not liking the source material, which again tells me a lot. It's more about them than the show.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and I was wondering if you're going to bring this up. Someone on Twitter, and I won't embarrass them, but
I would, but that's me.
Someone in the Doctor Who production office, obviously fan of the U.S. Series Timeless.
Yeah.
And someone replied, that was my thought. Problem is, Timeless did it better. Disappointing, it's been canceled. Maybe Doctor Who should stick to aliens. And I said very calmly, it isn't a competition. And this statement is disrespectful to fans of both shows.
Right.
I love them both. We should support good TV no matter the series.
Agreed.
Well said.
Yeah. Now, I have seen other people tweet, if you liked this episode of Doctor Who, you should check out Timeless. Yeah. See, that's perfectly
the way
fair.
To do it.
Yeah, exactly. But
it's okay to like both shows, guys.
Yes, it is.
You don't have to like one and this is not like, the whole Star Trek versus Star Wars debate. I've never gotten, because I like both franchises.
Yeah, exactly.
If
What's
there's
wrong
not enough room for 2-star shows,
or DC versus Marvel, I never got that.
Although DC.
Yeah, well, yeah. Obviously, yes. But
well, we have a Titans podcast. So
I'm just joking.
But that's my preference. That doesn't mean I'm not at the new Star Wars movie when it comes out. It's not that I'm, not buying Marvel comics. Right. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really a DC guy, but I'm still buying Marvel. I'm still buying Image or Dark Horse.
And when something good Marvel comes out, I am right there. I mean, I don't poo-poo it just because it's Marvel.
It's okay to broaden your horizons a little.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know
Apple-
maybe I'm soapboxing a little bit, but
Apple Android, that's a whole different.
well, I have an iPad and I have a Android phone, so
Okay, you're good.
again, I'm a pretty multi-layered individual.
Okay.
And but I truly, it is hard for me not to put on my judgment. I promised I wouldn't when we first talked about this 2 episodes ago, but it's hard for me not to just view people who are not giving Jodie and this series enough of a credit,
Right.
and giving it its just accolades. I just wonder what's wrong with them.
Again, it says much more about the person than it does about the
Right.
show.
Yeah.
Right.
It really does.
And nothing. Unfortunately, nothing you say will probably
Nope.
change their mind.
Nope.
No, absolutely.
If anything, they'll just be more adamant in their position.
Yeah.
You just
And-
kind of
and
have
resist-
to wait it out. If
Yeah.
they decide to stop watching, then that's their loss.
Exactly. Like,
Mhm.
if it bothers you that much, then stop watching.
Right.
You'll be a much happier
Yeah.
person, and then you
Stop
can move on. And
visiting boards and commenting, and just
That-
leave it alone.
yeah, they just said that's the thing is like they want to just keep trolling, even though they don't like it. They want to bring everybody else down
Mhm.
in the process. And
Absolutely.
It's like, why bother? All right. Enough of that nonsense. All right. Let's talk about Krasko here, and with the quote, "Racism is still with us, but it is up to us to prepare our children for what they have to meet, and hopefully we shall overcome."
Very nice.
So obviously racism kind of plays a factor into Krasko, but I'm kind of wondering if is it skin color that Krasko has a problem with, or humanity that Krasko has a problem with?
Yeah, and I like that racism is still with us. You picked because it apparently is still with us in the far future.
Right.
Yes.
And
Which is a depressing thought.
I
But
want to ask you a question about Krasko.
yes,
So, is he some kind of a time agent?
that's kind of what the speculation is kind of being, because as we saw in this episode, Krasko is rocking the old vortex manipulator on his wrist. Now, who do we know who uses a vortex manipulator?
Yeah.
Right.
A certain Captain Jack Harkness, perhaps?
Right. So,
I read somewhere the anti-Captain Jack, because
Yeah.
Captain Jack doesn't have.
Well, wasn't that
doesn't
Captain
have
John Hart, the anti-Captain Jack?
Well, even then he was flexible too. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
But yeah, it's very curious, to say the least. And here's another thing to kind of ponder the old speculation. Krasko talks about that he was imprisoned in Storm Cage.
Yep.
Now, Storm Cage, for all of you New Who fans, that is the prison that River Song was imprisoned in.
and he was there for killing multitudes and all at once, apparently, when he was young.
Correct.
So, does that mean that he was involved in something where he decided to, voiced his opinion on something he was supposed to police, and
Right.
ended up killing a bunch of people, and that's why he got put in Storm Cage?
We don't know yet.
Right. I'm just saying.
And I say yet because I get the distinct impression after this, the way the resolution of Ryan shooting Krasko with the temporal displacement gun.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the last of old Krasko.
No, me either. They definitely leave it open, and especially with all the little Easter eggs they planted as to who he is. Because
Right.
it was like, oh my God, is he some sort of a rogue agent? Because as soon as I heard the vortex manipulator, I was like, what? What?
Yep.
What?
What the what?
Right, exactly.
What?
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we really need to have Captain Jack appear, right? Right.
He said he'd be
Yes.
open to it.
Let's
Yeah.
hope. Let's hope. John Barrowman, please come back.
Yeah.
We miss you. Now here's another thing to kind of ponder. Okay, is Krasko the timeless child?
Ooh.
Ooh, brain explode.
Oh.
Mind blown. I'm blowing your mind. What do you think? What do you think, Jesse?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I think that I think that's going to either be the Doctor or Susan. Is where I'm going. I do think the idea.
You think we're going to see Susan?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I think that would be kind of nice.
I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that. I've been dying to have her. Capaldi really wanted her back.
Yeah,
So.
I really, I liked this villain. The idea, very clever, to just a little push.
Yeah.
Just a little thing off kilter to make changes, ripples.
A meddler with time. No,
yes.
Where have I heard that before? Yeah. Classic Who, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I don't think we've seen the last of Krasko. There's just too many open-ended questions here.
Right.
And I did like the fact that Ryan is the one who takes him out at the end.
I did too. I
loved that about him. Yes.
And Ryan was just, kind of like very pumped and justifiably so, I think. Yeah. And it was good. It was good to see him have that moment.
I love how surprised he was that the technology worked.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's one of my quotes. I got that. I got this whole.
I can't wait.
I got this whole.
Because I can't remember it.
Yeah, I tracked down. I had to write down the whole dialogue for that because I just thought that was great. Yeah, that little really spiel he does, where he's talking with himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
thought that was
quite
great.
a bit, doesn't he? I've seen him muttering on other episodes already.
Well, he kind of mutters like, "Why is it always ladders?" Stuff like that.
Right.
But
yes, I like him.
Well, as someone who speaks to himself quite often, because for one thing, I'm usually the only person that can understand me.
That's not true.
So
we share a brain.
We share a brain. I know we share a brain, but you're not always around, so
that's true. So you have to talk for yourself.
So I have to talk to myself. Yeah, exactly. So the other parts at the time.
I talk through my cats. Does that count? It's so dumb, but I do it.
All right. So now Krasko, as we find out, he's just trying to tweak time, meddle with time, and just trying to nudge things rather passively, because we find out that it turns out he has this thing implanted that prevents him from actively killing someone.
Correct.
Right.
Which I'm sure that's going to be, it's called a neural restrictor. And he makes the comment that this is where things started to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the question is, at what part of his timeline are we seeing Krasko? Is this like after or before, or what, like trying to figure out like what triggered those events?
So what I took from it was that...
Does that make any sense?
It does, totally.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
I thought it was that while maybe not perfect, at least there is improvement. And there is not quite as much prejudice and injustice, lack of justice in the future. And this guy, I just pictured him as a typical, KKK wannabe.
Right.
And so that's what I pictured is he wanted to do. That's what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, okay. The way he said it, though, it makes it sound like he was talking in a greater sense.
You're talking about where he confronts Ryan there at the end, and he talks about, he says something about ensuring your kind, quote unquote, will stay in their place.
And I did not think of humans, but you're exactly right.
So because I kind of wondered if there was like a double meaning for that he wasn't really, or that he wasn't talking so much about Ryan's skin color, but that maybe he was referring to humanity in general, and that he's an alien of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a stenza, perhaps.
Yeah. Don't know. Could be.
Oh, I just blew your mind again.
Ah, there we go.
Or people that want to preserve timelines.
Right. But that would be like a Time Lord, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I mean,
or a time
he's
agent.
saying that he doesn't want people to restore timelines, of your kind. The happy-go-lucky law,
like a time
lawful
cop.
people, right?
He's against time cops.
Right.
He's an evil leaper.
So look out, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Evil leaper. Thank
Evil
you,
leap.
Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there was kind of a quantum leap thing, but hey, let's just remember which show did it first,
Oh,
right?
boy.
Absolutely, but don't. It's okay.
Okay, we can like both shows.
To be fair,
Yes, we
Doctor
can.
Who didn't jump into bodies. Quantum Leap invented that.
Yes.
Come on, as a full mechanic, as the concept for the show.
As the main premise.
Right.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, they kind of had their own deal, but yeah. To be fair, Doctor Who did not invent time travel.
No. But
Time Tunnel did.
No.
We will not get off on the Time Tunnel.
that's okay. But hey, the Doctor may be Banksy, as we found out in this episode.
That was so
Absolutely.
great. And Graham might be
love
Steve
that.
Jobs.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I kind of like Graham there. He's just like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs.
And
You wouldn't
it
be
is
lying to
kind of
me. Steve Jobs would never lie to a policeman. He said.
But I did think it was funny that from a 1955 perspective, one device doing all that just sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Because they can't even concept of that.
Right.
Even though they hold a phone in their hand,
Yeah.
it does, that they can't, Graham can't conceive of all the stuff that the Doctor can do with the sonic screwdriver.
Right.
And yet he's describing this phone to these.
Essentially, that cop is to Graham as Graham is to the Doctor.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Right.
I loved it.
Yes. So now we did have this one bit at the end that I liked where the Doctor is kind of reassuring her companions that Rosa Parks' history continued as it was supposed to. She had to keep fighting, even though after that night in Montgomery, but she helped change the world. And the Doctor points out that, she actually changed the universe and takes them to see asteroid 284996 Rosa Parks. Yes, I looked up the actual asteroid name.
Very nice.
Designation.
Nice.
And that was named after Rosa Parks in 2014, by the way.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Which I thought was very cool. And that is actually an asteroid. That's legit.
That's very cool.
That wasn't something that was made up for the show. All right. Anything else about this episode before we move on to our best lines of the episode?
Poor Graham. He can't get any food.
Oh my goodness, right?
I love that. Like, we are going to eat somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right.
Can we stop off somewhere?
Great Graham. Always thinking with your stomach.
Yeah.
Yes. It was great.
To paraphrase Star Wars there.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I can't think of anything.
Karen? Nope. All right.
No, I shook my head,
right.
which is not good for a podcast, but no.
Yeah. You might want to kind of enunciate that a little bit
No,
more
I have
audibly.
nothing else at this time. Thank you very
Excellent.
much.
There we go. Now you're getting it. All right. So, Karen, let's start with you. You got any best lines of the episode?
I do.
And then we'll go to Jesse after you give one.
Okay. The Doctor to Krasko. Oi, Brando, looking for us? I'm not armed. Is that supposed to make me not shoot you? Ideally. I enjoyed that interchange.
All right, Jesse, give us a good one.
So I loved the Doctor talking about the TARDIS and why you wouldn't be worth anything. Huge mileage, one careless owner.
Yeah, that was great.
You forgot second hand.
Yes,
Yeah,
I just
Not
love that.
Not that one. Second hand, huge mileage, one careless owner.
Yeah, I love that.
That was
So
good.
great.
It was good. The Ryan, right?
And one careless owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan had a good line where he's talking early on in the episode about, well, if she, referring to Rosa Parks, can live here all her life, a couple of hours ain't going to kill me. It ain't going to kill me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you never know.
Well, this is Doctor Who. It's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was good. Karen, got another one?
Yep, I do. The Yaz and Rosa Parks scene. Your police? Yep, just starting, not where I want to be. Where is it you want to be? In charge. And then she laughs and says, amen to that.
Yeah, that's good. I love that scene.
I did love that scene. I love the Banksy discussion.
Yeah.
Graham going, you ain't Banksy. And the doctor, or am I? And then the doctor, Banksy doesn't have one of these. Or do I? I thought that was
she was
wonderful.
Messing with him. I thought that was great.
Yes.
But you know what? Who would be better to be Banksy than the doctor? To be able to just disappear afterwards.
Well, I got to think the doctor would actually make a painting be able to shred all the way.
That's true.
Instead of just partially, and then it stopped. But
can't leave clues.
This is true.
Right.
This is true.
Okay.
This is true. The bit at the end, loved where Ryan zaps Krasko with the temporal displacement weapon, and he's like, "Oh, it worked! Nice one, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Move the car. Move the car. Clear the route. Find the bus, and Rosa Parks can change the world. Good. Here we go."
Very nice.
Yes.
I like
Good
that.
Job, Ryan. Good job,
Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Nice one, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan.
So funny.
Yeah.
And now here's Ryan with sports.
Yeah.
All right, Karen, you got any
Here's
more?
Ryan with the weather. Ryan to Martin Luther King. Of course, I loved this. Martin Luther King? That's correct. Oh my, it is. My nan loves you. Your nan? My grandma. And then Mr. Parks says, the older ladies do love your sermons, Martin. You'll never be short for a gray-haired wife in Alabama. And then Fred asks, is your gran at 10 Dexter Avenue? And he says, no, she died recently. And then Martin Luther King says, I'm so sorry for your loss, son. And he says, thank you, Martin Luther King. She'd be chuffed to know that you said that.
Yeah.
It's so great.
That's great. Jesse, got any more?
Didn't you just love the Graham going, it's 55? Can we meet Elvis? And she's like, Elvis is in New York, but I could call him. You've got Elvis's phone number? Don't let anyone know I lent him a mobile phone. And then later, of course, when they get rid of the bus driver, when the doctor says, good job, Elvis, lent Frank that phone against everything I told him. But it worked out well, so she could call Frank and go, Frank, it's the doctor. Can you arrange? That was just wonderful.
That's great. That's great. Last quote I have, I have another Rosa Parks one, but this one I liked from Yaz, which was where she's talking with Ryan. That very important scene, I think, in the alleyway. Yaz says, I get called a packy when I'm sorting out a domestic or a terrorist when I'm coming home from the mosque. But they don't win, those people. I can be a police officer now because people like Rosa Parks fought those battles for me, for us. And in 53 years, they'll have a black president as leader. Who knows where there'll be 50 years after that? That's proper change.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was great.
Very nice.
Probably Yaz's best line so far.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Any others before we head out?
I don't have any.
All right. Just have a real quick one from Rosa Parks. Education makes you unstoppable.
Amen.
Like that.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
get yourself educated, people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not already. All right. So, ratings. Jesse, let's go with you first this time. What's your rating for this one?
So, I'm giving it 10 out of 10 bus tokens.
Nice.
I just, there's nothing not to love about this episode.
All right. Excellent. Karen, how about you?
I agree. I give it 10 tickets to Las Vegas.
Ooh, I like that one a lot.
Ooh. All right. Will Charles make it a perfect 30?
Yes, Charles. The
Dun, dun, dun. Drum roll, please. I also give it 10 out of 10. So we have a perfect score this week from all three of us. 10 memorial asteroids.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to go with vortex manipulators, but I think memorial asteroid sounds better.
I think so too.
I had a bunch of them. Look, I have vortex manipulator, anachronistic mobile phones, raffle winners, storm cage tattoos. We talked about everything though, so I had to go.
I had seedy motel rooms. Yes.
Yeah.
But
I've gotten the habit of writing backups in case somebody steals mine.
Yeah.
That's exactly
but
what I did.
The reality is, we've talked now a little bit over an hour, and I don't think we had one nitpicking, one complaint about the episode. I mean, I think everyone served themselves well. It was emotional. It was funny.
Yeah.
The doctor, I thought the doctor climbing up on the tanker, and kind of talking to him.
Krasko,
this was just a really good episode.
Yeah, it was very well balanced, this
about
episode.
About as perfect as it can get, I think.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's 3 10s from all of us, everybody. So,
so if you're averaging it, that would be a 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say, you think? Yeah.
Carry the 3.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
Carry the 3.
I know we don't have time to go through my reverse the polarity segment, but I will.
You can give us the episode.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to say, if you like this episode, normally I know the inclination is to go with Vincent and the Doctor, but I tried to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think Vincent and the Doctor is kind of obvious, really.
Right.
I agree. If you want that kind of tone. So I want to go back to just real quick, the original series, The Time Meddler, the 9th serial of season 2 in 1965, written by Dennis Spooner, which was a William Hartnell story that featured the introduction of the meddling monk, the very first rogue Time Lord, besides the Doctor, introduced on Doctor Who, whose plan is to change history and to lure some Vikings to the coast to destroy the Saxon fleet in 1066. So So essentially the Krasko of the classic era.
Can I just say that Green Rant agrees with you?
Really?
Yep, they sure do.
Excellent.
It says, Krasko is possibly the first Doctor Who villain since the meddling monk in the William Hartnell era to truly see the potential of time travel.
Right.
Nice. Very well done, Charles.
Thank you. So, and it's just cool. The monk is this, kind of an obscure character as far as Doctor Who villains, but he's very important because, again, he was the first, rogue Time Lord, like the Master before the Master on Doctor Who.
Yes, and for those of you who go, hey, why are they cutting off Charles? Yep. Just in the sake of time, we decided that we would try to, because there's 3 of us now and we all love to talk. So we will, though, we're going to have him at least do a quick shot each week to give us an episode.
Less Charles is always a good thing, right?
No, that's not true.
Stop saying that.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have any series.
Saying that. Sorry.
I don't have any series 11 news this week unless anybody else does.
Princess Bride always appropriate.
Yes.
No, I haven't seen. I just I hope the ratings are continuing.
Yeah.
The
overnights were a little down again for episode 3. They're still kind of declining, trying to find their level. But I think it's still like the number 2 watch program of the evening. So
good, very nice. And I just am so proud and happy that this series is reinvented itself in a good, positive way. And so, and it's fun talking to you two about it.
Exactly. Now, obviously, with our slight technical difficulties last week, we didn't get to all the email as I listened. So, but we did get one Holly Max read. That
yes.
So, if we have time, I'd like to kind of catch up a little bit on the
Please.
email.
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, you're good? All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back to last week's where, again, apologies for the technical difficulties on my part, got kicked off. Thanks for everybody for being patient about that. Paul Beck wrote in about the Ghost Monument. Paul from Australia.
Oh,
So
good.
he said, "Hi, Charles, Jesse, and Karen." Got to give a
Paul.
shout out.
Yay.
Gave a shout out to Karen there. Got to say right from the top, I really love this episode. It has so much going for it. Finally, we got our opening credits and theme music.
Yay.
Really like that.
That's the only reason you want to read this.
No.
No. I understand.
I'm catching up. You could have read it. It was in our email box, Gmail. So,
I don't know how to find our Gmail. I never remember the password. Yeah.
That's why you could write it down.
Someone would have deleted that, though.
Yes.
Oh my God, he likes the credits. Delete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably. Yeah, it would have gone in there and sabotaged.
I have a feeling this is going to be our big inside joke this season.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
All right. But it's right here if you ever want to read. Not me. We get a great story, which is basically the Doctor trying to get her companions back home safely and find her missing TARDIS as well. I liked how Graham, Ryan, and Yaz take it in their stride and pull together as a team with a sense of wonder. Really liked that too. Got to say those robots cannot shoot for peanuts. Terrible aim. But it gave Ryan his moment to shine, trying to put his computer gaming experience to good use, only to end up almost getting shot himself. Very funny. Any theories on who or what the Timeless Child reference is about? Well, we talked about that. And I threw in a little, maybe it's Krasko speculation to consider this week. And on a final note, I thought the location in South Africa with the camera work were brilliant. It gave the episode such an epic feel, added with great special effects. And this leads eventually to the Doctor recovering her TARDIS with its new look inside and out. Can't wait for more. Bring on the next episode. Sending you all my kindest regards, Paul. P.S. Congrats on last episode where we talked about the Jodie Whittaker's first episode, I guess he's talking about. It was epic too. I have listened to Karen and Jesse on the Scapecast for years.
Oh, awesome.
Yay.
So I think Karen is a perfect addition.
I agree. Yay. Thank you. That is
We totally agree. Yeah, that's why she's here.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Yep. So
I'm chuffed.
she's chuffed. That's your new word for the day.
Yeah,
Chuffed.
it is.
I live and work in the area of Sydney where Farscape was shot and had been to one of their location shoots. Also had a lady work for me who was a prominent extra on an episode of that series. So I really enjoyed Jesse and Karen's insights to that show. Anyway, I digress. Really am looking forward to next week's show. Cheers. So cheers right back at you, Paul.
Awesome.
Absolutely. By the way, I noticed on the credits as I was listening to the beautiful music, they had South Africa crew again. So I wonder if they used the town in South Africa as Montgomery, Alabama. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
They could have.
Mm-hmm. It didn't quite look like Alabama, but and the accents, of course, are British people trying to do Alabama.
Right.
But
I think they were okay though.
You thought they were passable?
I thought they were okay. Yeah.
Not the worst you've heard
And
Alabama
the
accents
was
you've heard.
fine. I mean, nothing took me out of the episode.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Vinette Robinson did a great job with Rosa Parks. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, I thought. Let's see what else. Catching up. We had Fred Firestein, aka Fred Firestein.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Karen, Charles, and Jesse. And Karen was all in bold in that.
Yay.
Or all caps.
And
all
that
caps
is the
for
correct order for those of you listening at home.
Absolutely.
Because you want to be the boss.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I see your agenda. First of all, thanks for acknowledging me as a frequent listener on to many of your podcasts. I enjoy all the ones for the TV shows I watch, and among us fans, it's a lot of shows in common. Anyway, I heard you correcting someone during the season premiere episode for using Dr. D.R. Who rather than Dr. D.O.C.T.O.R. Who. And I want to point out that there is at least one valid use for Dr. Dr. Who, which requires a little history lesson. Many modern era Doctor Who fans may not realize there were 2 movies based on Doctor Who, which were produced in 1965 to 1966, starring Peter Cushing. Yeah, we reviewed one right here on Next Stop Everywhere. Doctor Who and the Daleks, which, hey, I'm wearing the T-shirt for.
Yay.
Yay, today. So the backstory for this Doctor is different than the TV series, but the movies feature the TARDIS, the Daleks, and other familiar elements. The important point is here that the movies refer to the main character as Doctor Who. You may see Dr. Who and Dr. Who. You may see licensed materials such as T-shirts and other items with a Doctor Who logo, Dr. Who logo, and that means they are based on these movies. By the way, you can view these movies on Amazon Prime in 2 versions, one with the regular audio and one with the Riff Tracks commentary comedy. I'm a fan of Riff Tracks, so of course that's my preference.
Oh, I love Riff Tracks.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So that's Fred from Long Island, New York.
And for those of you who don't know, Riff Tracks are the people behind Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yes.
So
that was basically the main one. Was it Starship Titanic? I was the other one with some of the other people from Mystery Science Theater.
But these are like the original.
But the Riff Tracks are the better ones.
Yeah.
That at least until we got Mystery Science Theater season 11 on Netflix.
Right.
With Jonah Ray.
Those were actually really good.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to commentary about Rosa real quick.
Let's do.
Okay.
Because I know we're running long. Holly Mack writes in. Do you want to read Holly's email, Jesse, since you get those?
I do. I have it.
All right.
Hey, Charles, Jesse, and Karen.
Hi.
Wow, what an episode, and an historical episode to boot. I'm still trying to take it all in. Once again, the TARDIS takes the Doctor where they need to be instead of where they want to be. Wonder if they're going to find out more about this escapee from the storm cage.
Yep.
All in all, an enjoyable episode. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Well, thank you, Holly. And so, Karen, are you chuffed that everybody keeps using Karen in their addresses here?
Until the newness wears off, I'm gonna keep saying hi to them back.
Excellent. Yeah. All right.
So
Good,
irritating,
good.
I know, but
Good. All right. So we have another quick one about Rosa from Paul, and then we should be all caught up.
And I have one more that someone posted on Facebook, so go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, then you can finish us off then. All right.
Okay.
So Paul writes in about Rosa. He says, again, hi, Charles, Jesse, and Karen.
hello.
There we go. Another great episode of New Doctor Who. The start of this new season is so strong. Really enjoyed this episode. Once again, great acting by all the cast and some great script writing. I'm really enjoying the interaction between the Doctor and her friends. Graham's character, I just adore. He is really standing out for me. And that's saying a lot because both Ryan and Yaz are wonderful too. This was such a powerful story describing a piece of history that is hard to believe existed, only some 60-odd years ago. A piece of history that our TARDIS team have to keep on course and make sure happens, and unwillingly become part of in the process. Do you think we'll see Krasko again? Maybe? Yes. And whose initials were on the case he owned?
Oh yeah, GB. Oh boy, GBF, something like that. Yeah.
Really?
Who knows who it is?
I didn't catch the initials, so they were GBF.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Okay, I have to do some speculating about that one. Pondering. Guess I'll have to do some research. Come back. Sending you all my kindest regards as always, Paul. P.S. Spiders next week. Just love it. Bring it on.
Oh,
Smiley face.
GFB.
GFB.
Okay.
All right, that's a puzzle. Well, everybody, you got your theories? Send them in. We'll love to hear.
Absolutely.
All right, Jesse, you got one more?
Yeah. I went to the Doctor Who Austin fan page.
Yep.
Some wonderful people there, and Anne Berriman said this one joined my top 5 episodes, and I've been watching since Patrick Troughton. It was funny and very relevant to the world we're living in. So thank you, Anne. I totally agree. This is, as we talked about, it's very touching, and I think partly because it is so timely, and pardon the pun, in today's world.
And unfortunately, yes. I mean, it would be nice to be able to say, yeah, well, this is from a forgotten time, but
it's not.
Yeah.
But it's sadly not. And there's a lot of issues that we are still dealing with today.
Anne needs to get John on the show. Because I'm sure everyone with the last name Berman is related, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Obviously. All right. So as Paul suggested about the spiders, next time on Next Stop Everywhere, we're going to talk about arachnids in the UK, which is the 4th episode of Series 11. A nice little twist on the title Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols, one of my favorite punk bands. So I'm hoping we get some punk music next week. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I'm thinking of the ROCK in the USA. ROCK in the USA.
Get your top 40 away from my punk music.
Okay.
Do you have more information about it?
I did last time.
Because I do.
Go ahead. Do you have the synopsis?
The description is, quote, something's happening with the spiders in this city, unquote. The Doctor, Yaz, Graham, and Ryan find their way back to Yorkshire and Yaz's family, only to find something is stirring amidst the 8-legged arachnid population of Sheffield. And it has an interesting guest star.
What's the interesting guest star?
Chris Noth. From Sex and the City, The Good Wife, Criminal...
Did not watch any of those shows.
What is it? Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
Still did not watch any of those shows.
Yeah.
You'd recognize him if you saw him.
Absolutely, yeah. He's he was that I did not know. That's pretty cool.
He's in next week's episode.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I read that during my Series 11 news last week during my little drop-in. So. But I'm glad you had it there handy, so I didn't have to scramble back for it.
I wrote my article today, so
you were very prepared.
I have
you came prepared.
Up,
you came prepared to class today. Right. So
I do a lot with Doctor Who. I do this. I write a roundtable article.
Awesome. All right. So if you want to be like Fred, Paul, and Holly, and be one of the cool kids, you want to write into Next Stop Everywhere at nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com at the Gmail. That's nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. Or you can reach us on Twitter at nextstopsmg on the Twitter machine, or Facebook and Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. So please like and follow us there. Or you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts if you're not already. Leave us a review because, hey, that helps people find us. And also please support the Southgate Media Group Patreon page because, hey, that helps keep the lights on.
That's right.
So please do.
Maybe Instagram coming soon? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I know. I kind of dropped the ball on that one this week. I got like I had 4 podcasts this last week.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. And I work a full-time job.
Oh no! So do I now.
All right.
And I had a reaction to my meds.
All right, okay. I see how it is.
No,
all right. Okay.
I can set one up if you want. It's just I don't have the.
No, I'll do it. I'll do it.
It's all right.
I just need to get it done. So, Jesse, where can they reach you on the interwebs?
I can be reached at Jesse Jackson, DFW on Twitter. I am on Facebook as well, Jesse Jackson, Louisville, Texas. You can hear me talk about Bruce Springsteen and other musicians on Set Lusting Bruce. You can hear me talk with Charles about Titans, the new DC Universe Direct series. And if you aren't watching it, I think you are missing some fun stuff. Titan Talk is the name of that podcast. So
Titan
please
Talk,
check
the
that
Titans
out.
podcast. Yeah.
Yes. We're really enjoying that. Karen, let's talk about where they can find you and your like half dozen podcasts that you're doing.
Thank you for that baton, Jesse. I am at Aleveria, Aleveria, on the Twitter machine. You can check my bio there for the link to my blog, which is Allie's Stuff, Allies Stuff. That's where my blog resides. The landing page there has a list of all the places you can find me. And not just that, but it also has like my recommended stuff on there and, other podcasts you should be listening to and where I write. So like Nice Girls TV's on there and all that other stuff. So all of my links are on that page.
Excellent.
And you can find me all over the place. Seriously. It's easier just to go to that link.
It's easier to find where she's not than where she is.
Pretty much.
Yep. She's everywhere, just like Elvis.
Next stop everywhere.
Yes. Karen. Next stop, Karen everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. As for me, you can reach me at Charles Skaggs on the Twitter machine or at Charles Skaggs on the Instagram. And Facebook, of course, at Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. Or my blog at Geeky Things.
Damn good coffee and hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Where I talk about Next Stop Everywhere and Doctor Who and all kinds of comic book, sci-fi news of my other podcasts they do for Southgate Media Group, including the aforementioned Titan Talk the Titans podcast with Jesse, or the Phantom Zone podcast that I do with Karen.
That's right.
And where we talk about all kinds of comic book shows, including, shows that like premiering this past week, like Daredevil and Arrow and Supergirl and some more Black Lightning and all kinds of stuff. And like this week we've got like Legends of Tomorrow starting.
Right?
So many shows,
so excited
you guys.
about Legends of Tomorrow because
Constantine.
Because John Constantine, and
we're gonna have to break out the old Constantine theme music again.
Yeah,
the Dangerous Habits theme music.
I have to say that I loved the meme this last week from Phil because it said "because Gregory." So now maybe you'll have to make one that says "because John Constantine."
Well, remember I did the "because Gregory" hashtag.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
That's right. And also the Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Litch, and so on. So everybody, thanks for listening. I know we ran a little long, but I want to catch up on the listener mail. And we had a lot of important stuff to talk about this week. So thanks for being patient with us. And come on back next time for episode 122, Arachnids in the UK. Get your arachnophobia.
And we will close.
Yes. You have a quote?
Yes.
All right.
From Rosa Parks.
All right.
I believe we are here on the planet Earth to live, grow up, and do what we can to make this world a better place for all people to enjoy freedom.
Very nice. Good words. And everybody, go watch Rosa again, and then come on back after watching Arachnids in the UK. We'll be right here, episode 122 of Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Bye, everybody.
And I rise like the dead.